we're now covering the headquarters position, which is a really common position to use on the way towards a guard pass. So basically the idea is that you step over one of your opponent's legs and you can settle into the position. We'll talk about that in a little bit in a moment, but it's a good way where you can kind of stop and start to decide which direction you're going to go with your guard pass. So it's good for a few reasons. It's often a great way to get out of when your opponent has good grips or good positioning themselves, so they've got a good particular type of guard. You can often reset into the headquarters position and then you can start to go on the offense yourself. So it kind of gets them out of having control over you. And it's also good because you can set up different types of guard passing. So you can start to set up through the legs passes, under the legs, around the legs passes. We'll keep it to the main options in this particular course. Obviously in the more advanced course, we can go through some of the more less common but still valid options. Next thing I wanted to talk about on the headquarters is whether it's a static or dynamic position. So I really think, especially it works in gi and in no gi. In no gi, I think you have to move a little bit faster. You don't always just kind of sit there and wait. I think some people sit there for too long and then they end up losing position. So a lot of the time, especially depending how your opponent reacts, you might have to immediately be going for your pass. If your opponent reacts in a certain way, you can kind of take your time to set it up, but be ready to be quite active and dynamic with it, as well as potentially using it in a static position based off your opponent's reaction. So what other systems would you want to learn in conjunction with this headquarters system? Now we are covering a few different types of guard pass here. We're going through the cross knee through, the near side knee through, and the smash pass. Each of those passes we cover in a somewhat linear fashion. So once you get into the pass, then we're kind of covering just like a linear way to finish, but each of those could be its own game, its own system. So you can check out the system for the smash pass, for the cross knee through, near side knee through, and just general half guard passing as well, that you'll often end up as a next step. We've cleared one layer in the headquarters. The next might be that you get stuck in the half guard. So getting good at passing through the half guard will be a big bonus for this as well. So we're now going to just cover the main option. So this is the headquarters position where Miele's leg is between my legs. Now there are different variants of headquarters, so you can play it in slightly different ways. The one we're going to focus on today is where I'm a little more biased with my weight on my leg over the top of this bottom leg. Okay, so just be aware there might be some other ways. We'll show this in other courses. There's some where you tend to be a bit more back and loose with your legs. We're going to go for the one where I've got a bit more weight over my leg that's pinning the leg. Okay. So the options that we're mostly going to look for, I'm going to try to be smashing the leg. If I can turn the leg in and sprawl on the top leg, I get into the smash pass position and I can try to pass from there. We're going to be looking to go for a cross knee through, coming across to the side, so with my leg going from one side to the other. And there'll be some different ways we go about going for this as well. And we're going for the near side knee through too, where I can try to slip past this leg and start to control and pass. So a lot of what's going to determine which direction we go is what Miele's doing with this leg. Whether I feel like he's pushing away at me, whether I feel like he's keeping it tight, whether it's open or whether it's coming across. That's going to be one thing that's going to dictate what direction I go with the guard pass. We're going to go through our main options, our primary attack. This is something that I usually like to just give people one move to try before we get into the specific details in terms of what I'm thinking from each position and what you've got for all the different options. Okay, so this is the one you can go and drill right from the start. So we're going to enter into headquarters. The way we're going to do that is I'm going to grip onto both shins, step to the side, and I'm going to step my leg wide, catching Miele's ankle here with my foot. Okay. Once I'm there, I'm going to drop my knee, so I catch near his ankle or shin, hold onto the knee, and then drop my knee over the top of Miele's leg. Okay, not to the ground, just pinning his leg here, and my hips, are going to drop in over the top of this leg. Okay. My knees stay somewhat tight and my feet are wide for good base. All right. From here, I'm going to punch an underhook, not deep, just posting my hand on the ground, and my other hand is going to go out nice and wide. As I do that, my knee goes to the center of the chest and then it comes through for a knee cut. Knee to the center of the chest, posting on the ground nice and high, and then I drop my knee down to the other side. Once I'm here, I'm going to pick up the bottom elbow, put my head on the shoulder next to Miele's head, and I slide my knee through, walking into the hips. Good side control. So I'm going to control the ankles or shins, step to the side, step wide, pin the knee as I drop my knee down over the top. From here, I'm going to reach my hand as a high underhook on the ground as a post, reach out to the side as my knee comes to the center and then chops back. Once I get to here, I'm going to put my head next to Miele's head on his shoulder as I pick up the elbow. And from here, I slide my knee out, foot becomes free, I walk into the hips, and I establish side control. So we're going to go through entries now. Before we get into the specific entries, there's a few things that I think is worth talking about so you understand what we're trying to achieve. Okay. We want to step over, like headquarters means we've stepped over one of the legs and pinned it. That's one of the reasons why it's good, okay? Because Miele's got this layer of the guard that he can always push back with. If he's got his foot in front of me, he can push me away. I can't really close the distance. So by stepping over the leg and making so the sole of his foot is not available, then that's why he can't push me away and I can kind of maintain a little bit of a closer range. So I'm a little bit closer towards passing the guard. So how do I go about stepping over a leg? Now, one of the best things you can do, so we're talking about someone who's on their back like Miele is now. So he's trying to pummel and keep his foot in front. So any sort of open guard that people are playing, or maybe you've just opened the closed guard, this is going to be a relevant concept to be working with. I want to control somewhere down near the ankle so that I can actually kind of pin the foot towards the butt, okay? Sometimes I see people holding the knees. If I hold the knees, Miele can lift his foot up. It's going to be very difficult to step over. By gripping on the ankle, I can pin it a lot better. Even if it doesn't pin, that's okay though. Okay, so obviously if I can just grab it and pin, I can just start to step to the side and put my hips in. If Miele's stretching out and following me, though, it's going to be very hard to pin the ankle like that. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is I want to step back and make it so anything on this side of my body he cannot connect to. So if he's connected to my hip, for example, or connected to my bicep or chest, I can't actually, it's very hard to push down and clear the leg. But if I step back and turn side on, now this leg will be floating. Okay? It could be on my leg, and I step back, now it's floating. Keep following, keep trying. You see it like clears, okay? So he loses, with this leg in the way, he actually eventually loses ability to reach my other leg with this leg. Same for any sort of type of guard he's playing with an open guard. If you step back, often they lose ability to stay connected, okay? So now that I've got that, I can start to push it down, okay? I can push the leg down or jam it. Either one is fine. So if I push it down, I can start to step over the top and bring my hips in to jam. Or if I'm able to, I can just straight out jam, okay? So again, no matter where they're gripping, we get to control that leg We can step back, push down, step over. That's going to allow us to pin that leg. Another important concept in the entry is keeping elbow to knee connection, because often as we're trying to grip and control this leg and stepping back, there's risk of getting submitted, okay? Or even just being pulled into close guard would be a bad option or outcome as well. So this is all going to be able to occur when my elbow disconnects from my knee. Mile can shoot his hips up and start to attack, okay? If I have my elbow connected to my knee, that's difficult to do. Okay, if he tries to shoot his hips up here, he can't. So when we're doing our step backs, trying to control our leg, we want to make sure we're keeping good elbow to knee connection. So in the gi, often that means gripping on and kind of squatting back a bit to get that posture. Sometimes it can be by leaning your knee forward as well. That can be okay. In no gi, that's often just like a grip around the hip, sometimes even just holding the leg here, but mostly focusing on dropping your elbow down. One other thing to be aware of when entering the headquarters position is your opponent being able to get this outside hook, a De La Riva hook. Okay, if he's got this, I cannot enter headquarters. So you see that foot hooking underneath my thigh, you've got the front on. Mile has this foot hooked here. Okay, no matter how well I try to step over the leg, because of this, he can always kind of push me away, and I can't actually get my hips in sitting on that leg I want to sit on. So you want to be able to be good at clearing this leg. I'll just quickly talk about this. So I want to be able to have my leg straight and my foot turned out a bit. Okay, if my foot's turned out, Mile tries to get the hook, he can't. Okay. And a big factor for this, which we'll see in some of our entries, is I want my foot to be stepped wide so that the contact with Mile's leg, with my shin, is actually on Mile's calf here. So this part of his calf, not at the knee, and definitely not with my foot or shin connecting to his thigh here as if I'm coming forward. So you can look at the difference, get a hook. He gets a great hook here. You can probably get an okay, maybe just getting a hook here when I'm going at the knee. If I turn my foot outwards, my knee's pointed outwards, he gets no hook at all. Okay, it's really keeping the more I step this way, the more his foot has to be open. He can only curl to here. The more I start coming in, the more he can bend and curl in for a good hook. So we're going to be looking at really stepping in a good angle first, killing the De La Riva hook before we put our knee down. But back to stripping that De La Riva hook, which is important. You're going to straighten your leg. A bent leg is easier to hook. A straightened leg is much harder to hook. So I'm going to be straightening my leg, pushing down on the shin, and then turning my knee out and stepping it wide so that I catch that shin position. Covering entering the headquarters against someone who's on their back, their feet are in front of us, they don't have any established grips yet. How do we approach this? So I'm going to look to control both ankles if I can. All right, so there's going to be this battle. Mile's trying to put his feet in contact, trying to get grips. I'm going to be looking to connect to both ankles or shins. Okay, as I said, not at the knees. His feet can start to pummel in front of my shoulders, like so. This is no good. by holding the ankles, if he tries to pummel his feet, it's a lot more difficult, okay? Now, I want to get good position to step. I've got to get past this top leg here, so this inside leg. I've got to get past that with my hips so that when my hips come in, I actually have that between my legs, okay? So I can't just come in here and miss that leg, okay? So I have to step a little bit to the side first to get past that leg. So I'm going to step out with my left leg, and then I want to step in with my right leg to get good position, okay? Step wide out to here, okay? So I talked about this a little earlier, but I want to actually catch my shin to Miele's shin to stop him from being able to get a De La Riva hook, okay? One of the worst things you could do, step wide here, step in, give him a De La Riva hook. Now I've made myself in a worse position. So I want to step wide, do what we call a lateral step, going purely sideways, connecting my shin to the shin. And once I have that, I want to start to pin Miele's hips to the ground. I want to start turning him away from me and dropping my knee down to the ground, okay? Not onto the ground, actually, onto Miele's leg, okay? So we're trying to make, actually part of what makes headquarters good is you're making your opponent face away from you, okay? So we're stepping laterally and then pinning the leg as we put our knee over the top to pin Miele down with this leg. Now with my left leg, turn. Here, I step out to the side. I start to pin my right leg down. My leg, it doesn't have to be my hip, my leg, see my inner thigh is called the ankle, so I've gone from my hand to my thigh, and then my knee can pinch in a little bit, and I feel like I've trapped this leg, and my other leg's pinning Miele's leg. So Miele's got his legs, I'm going to be circling to control the shins, step to the side, I'm going to step wide with a lateral step, pinning that leg, putting my knee down, and using my left knee to close in, to pinch that space off. If we have an opponent who's seated, we can still work towards getting the headquarters, but obviously we have to knock them back on their back. One of the first things you have to be aware of, usually if they're seated, they're looking to get their foot inside, on the inside position, okay? You can't get to headquarters if he does this. If he goes here and I start to drive forward, I often end up getting caught in a leg entanglement. I don't want that, so I'm going to be wanting to circle my foot inside, okay? So I have to kind of lift up, come towards my other foot, and step out. I usually like to catch just behind the shin here. I find people, when they do this, they step too deep, and then if Miele just scoots back, he can kind of re-pummel his shin in front. Whereas if instead of trying to step close to the hip, I step close to the shin, if Miele scoots back, it's a little more awkward still, like it's a more awkward movement to take that out, okay? So again, if it's here, it's not too hard for Miele to just shoot that back. If I step more here, he's going to have a more difficult time. So generally, the more lateral I go and attach it to this shin, the harder it is to get that pummel back. Okay. Now, I also want to tilt Miele back. So I imagine you're like doing an ankle pick takedown or a single leg. I'm going to be posting on Miele's shoulder to push him back, but that's only part of it. I also want to lift him up. So I'm going to grip underneath the knee on the calf. Okay, so not around the outside, but kind of hooked under here. And these two motions together, as I drive forward, will start to drive Miele back. Okay. So all in all, I'm going to be posting on the shoulder as I step in. So you can see I do that circle underneath, catching behind the ankle or the shin. I'm lifting up on the bottom of this leg at the calf here as I push. And I want to drive to the point where my knee pins the thigh and my foot is nice and wide here with the leg in between my legs. So with this arm, I don't want to stretch out like fully here. I don't want, because Miele can control my arm too well. So with this post and this block, it's more like I tend to like come with my body low and I'm closer here. It's a little harder for Miele to get good control with this. And I like to actually put my thumb underneath the armpit like this, and fingers on the outside. If he tries to lift my hand out here, it's a little more stuck than if it's just a post, okay? If he's just here, he can push it off nice and easy and control it. Having your thumb underneath, if it goes to lift, means it's a little more stuck, okay? So it's kind of a tight movement. As I do this, I am coming in to the side, I'm staying tight, stepping, and coming in with my hips last. A very common entry into the headquarters is from a knee shield position like this, where you can see Miele. Basically what's happened, and you can do this as an entry itself, you can start trying to drive your knee through, and a very common reaction is your opponent puts their knee across your hip. This makes it very hard for me to actually attach or finish a cross knee through pass. But what I can do, I post my hand on the hip like this. I'm going to pick the knee up. I'm going to retract my knee away, okay? Because right now, my knee's actually turning Miele this way. I want him to face the roof, so I'm going to pick his knee up, and I'm going to remove my leg so that my hips come high. Lift the leg as I walk to the side, and I can start putting my knee down on the other side into the headquarters position. Another great option, instead of just reaching under the knee, is to scoop, like arm underneath the knee and then hooking the top of the thigh. This can be good for an extra reason, in that Miele, as I start to square up, might pull his knee towards his chest. Okay. Now, if I'm just holding the knee, sometimes when I go to square up, he ends up freeing that foot back in front. Whereas if I've scooped, I can keep it pulled back a bit. He goes to pull it to the chest. I'm resisting that as I tilt him to the other side. So Miele gets a knee shield. This hand is important because it's actually going to help like tilt. Okay, when I put some weight through it, it's going to tilt Miele flat. Okay, so you need that hand like pushing down on the front of the hip, not side on, but actually like down in front of the hip bone. Okay, my other hand's reaching underneath to scoop the knee up. Once I have this, I remove my hips into somewhat of a tripod, walk my hips to the side, using the arm to lift his knee up, tilting. And once I get past the midline, I start dropping my foot wide, knee over the top, to pin that leg with my right leg. Entering the headquarters from De La Riva. Look, this same principle would apply for close guard. If I just opened the close guard, and how I would try to get to headquarters as well. Same sort of idea, okay? So I'm going to look to deal with two things at once. This De La Riva hook and this leg, okay? So actually, sorry. First, I'm going to want to circle to get some control of this leg, all right? Because I need to have the ability to try to step over it when I have the chance. Do not try to step over it while he's got the De La Riva hook. This would be a very bad idea. I have to lift my hips too high, he can off balance, and I can never square up because of this hook. Okay, so I need to clear that hook. So I'm going to take my hand out, circle my hand back, underneath, and grip onto this shin here. Now, I want to change my right hand. I might have been keeping this safe just with elbow to knee, but I'm going to have to change now to push on the shin. I'm going to step back, straighten my leg, push on the shin, and push the leg down like so. Okay, so everything's going to go at once to start to set up the headquarters position. So you see I straighten my leg back, and this hook, if it's still on, by pushing on the shin, it'll stop that. Now I take with my hand here, I start pushing the foot inwards so it's not too wide. So I don't want this foot out here, I can't step into headquarters. I push it in. Okay. Now I'm going to step, turn my knee out, drive to the side with my foot, and pin my knee down. Okay. So it's really important, that movement, that I don't go straight in. So even when I go here, if I square up and try to go straight in, he might get the hook again. Okay. I really want to turn my hips to face out, bring my knee forward a little bit. See, that opens the foot out. And then I drop my knee down second, bring my hips in, and I get the headquarters position. So I'm going to keep my elbow to knee, work to circle this, any sort of grip that Mila has with the foot on the bicep. I'm going to circle that, control the shin, put both hands on the shins now. I'm going to step back so that I have a good angle to clear this foot in case he's trying to kick or keep it attached. I step back, I clear that. I straighten my leg, push down. Okay, both feet are floating now. I want to start jamming this in as I step over the top, turn wide, and start driving my knee down over the top with my other knee pinching into the headquarters position. So a summary of our entries to the headquarters position. We've got someone on their back. We can go gripping the shins, move to the side, lateral step, pin the leg, and put our knee down to enter the headquarters position. We can go for the cross knee through. I can start going for the cross knee through. Mile starts bringing that knee shield in. Okay, so then I go hand on the hip, scooping up the leg, maybe even like this, retracting my knee, squaring up, and coming over across with my knee on the other side to headquarters. If Mile has some sort of open guard or attachment, whether he's got De La Riva or foot on the bicep, some sort of collar grip, we make sure our elbows to the knee. We're going to start to circle the foot so we've got ability to hold on to the shin. We're going to change to grip on the shin if it's a De La Riva hook. If not, we don't need to worry about it. We're going to step back, push the leg down and in, step over the top, turn your knee out, drive to the side, and pinch into headquarters. If Mile's sitting up, I'm going to block his shoulder so he can't grip onto my leg, step my foot inside as I reach underneath the leg. Okay, so these all happen at once. From here, I tilt him backwards, moving to the side to get my knee over the top.
So we're looking at entries into headquarters, and we'll just go through a few live clips. And the first one here is, you can see I want to step over this leg. So I'm holding the leg. I control the far leg as well. So sorry, their left leg, so that they can't get a De La Riva hook. Notice my foot being next to the calf, not too far forward, so it's hard to get the actual hook of the De La Riva. Okay, so I can just push the foot down, and I'm almost in the headquarters position now. To settle in, I'm going to start to attack the smash pass first. So I'm actually trying to drive the weight down and basically fold this top leg, which we'll cover a little bit later. But so it might be slightly different in that Sometimes I will pin my leg down on top of my opponent's leg. A lot of the time I will just step over the leg and start trying to fold my opponent's legs to the side. And depending how they react, that will determine whether my right knee there can actually hit the ground or not. You can see I come across into the headquarters position. So it is a bit of a dynamic position. You'll notice there's a lot of movement. I often not planning on just sitting there. I'm constantly trying to fold my opponent to the side. Here's from the cross knee through position. I'm trying to do a knee through. Sam here's got his knee shield blocking me enough and his frames, so I'm going to square him back up almost to the headquarters position. So I'm going to push down on this this hip with my hand as I'm pulling the leg up, tilting him flat on his back again. So it's not quite headquarters, but a similar sort of position. All right, and that lets me start to then continue and look for the pass. This is one where we get to see against a seated opponent. So Justin's starting to sit up. I'm going to frame to stop him getting a good grip on my leg, but he still starts to go shin to shin. So you can see here I try to pummel my foot inside. I've lifted it in the air. I actually lose that little battle, but I win it again later. So you see he's got shin to shin. I try to flick off that as I pummel. I tried to kick my leg inside, but I didn't win that battle. So he's got the inside positioning on my leg. This means he could pull me through to single leg X. Okay, but I'm going to put my weight heavy on this side. And then I can usually, I've stepped over the leg, so I'm almost in headquarters, but I want my foot inside. So I can sometimes actually use my left foot to step on that leg so that my right foot here can pummel inside. Let's see how I do this. Oh no, just from balancing, so by posting on my hands, I managed to pummel my foot in, okay? The next step would be actually to use this leg to help kick my right leg free and pummel that in, okay? But now I've got headquarters, and I tried going for the knee cut. Here we are from open guard. So you'll notice I don't have elbow to knee connection a moment earlier. So we'll go back to just when that starts. So I don't have elbow to knee connection, but I'm not extremely worried right now because Alex doesn't have my sleeve yet. If he grips my sleeve, that's when I'm worried about my elbow being separated. Okay, so right now the risk of a triangle or an armbar is not so high. Once he goes to my sleeve, by the time he gets to my sleeve, I've stepped over the leg, so I'm safe again from the upper body control, and that's that standard step over. So again, stepping over the leg, usually going for that smash pass first, and that's a pretty standard way to get into it. Here we're going from De La Riva, pushing the shin down, and then stepping over the leg, and this lets me go to headquarters and start to attack. Alright, so this one's a little bit different. You'll see I'm starting from a lasso. You can check out our dealing with grips series on how to get good at dealing with gi grips series, passing series on how to really understand how to deal with something like a lasso. But with this lasso, I can't really get a good headquarters. So I have to use my elbow to open and flare, and I put my knee to the elbow so that Bin can't separate my knee and the elbow, because I am in danger of submissions here. All right, and now that this is here, elbow to knee connection, I'm happy to step over the leg. Okay, now I've got headquarters, and I'm ready to start to attack. This last one, standard entry, just stepping over the leg. Okay, so this is in a competition, the Pan Pacific Championships. My opponent's playing De La Riva, trying to. They don't have the hook yet, so I'm going to hold the leg, and I can just basically step over. Being careful, notice I step close to the ankle. I don't want to step too far forward. My hips are back, so he can't kick me forward. If I come too far forward here, I'm going to get off balanced. So keeping my weight back, and then I can start trying to settle into an attack. In fact, in this scenario, you actually get to see I do get off balanced, but I end up still in okay positioning because of it. So I am high enough that with a good pull on the collar, just as I step in, my opponent does pull me forward here, which is a way they try to reset back to De La Riva. So once he's off balanced me here, he's going to look to get De La Riva back. But I've still got my grip on the lapel. That's what's going to save me. That's going to let me actually start to put my knee down towards a near side knee through, which we'll cover later.
So the person on bottom has a few options. I just want you to be aware of what they might be looking for so that when you're on top, you can kind of be ready to react and deal with these things, okay? A lot of the times people will try to push you back, okay? They'll push you back with their knee, okay? So to go again, knee and hands will push back. Often when they do that, they then want to start to recover their bottom leg, okay? So one of the key ways they will recover is if they free this bottom leg. If weight comes off the bottom leg, it's free, they start trying to bring it back in front and push you away, okay? Another thing that they might look to do is bring you forward, off-balance you forward. This is reasonably common. They start to off-balance this way, make you post on the mat. You lose any control you have with your hands, and that allows them to recover their legs or get to a different position. So you've got to be wary of being bumped forward. Occasionally, they might start reaching under this leg, especially if you happen to step it too far forward, okay? So if this leg's in range, they might reach under the leg, and this can start to get them into a leg entanglement position like X-guard, which is going to be a problem in terms of like now a high chance that you get swept. One other thing, if you happen to take too much pressure off this this trapped leg by pinning the bottom leg too much, sometimes the person will be able to free their foot to either step on you and push away or become a knee shield. Both of these can make it very difficult for you to close the gap to set up a guard pass. So I'm going to talk about my positioning and my base of my legs. Okay, so how I'm putting my legs. I generally want my feet to be wide because that gives me ability to move laterally and obviously more balance and base as well. So it's harder to get swept over and off balance if my feet are wide. And it's easier if I want to direct near leg this way, I can drive off my right leg. If I want to direct him this way, I can drive off my left leg. So having the feet wide is good, but you lose tightness. Yeah, you can see this big space. I can start trying to free his legs. So I want to keep tightness, and obviously I could do that by stepping closer, but then I lose my balance. So a compromise is generally we want the feet wide, but our knees pinching in. Okay, so it can be knee like dropping down to pinch in and kind of control the hip, or could be the other knee pinching in against this leg or hip. So having the feet wide and knees close tends to be a good compromise where I can still shift my weight left and right, but I can also keep tight. So I'm going to end up having postures like this where my feet end up wide like that, knee comes in, same with the right leg. Obviously some people have more range of motion than me, some people have less. So it's okay if you're here or here. Generally, I will bias towards like having this one pointed more up. It's probably more important that my right one points out. So generally, if you're less flexible, you have to choose a side, and it's better to have this right one here pointed out as opposed to having this one up and this one out. This feels very loose to me, so I'd rather have this one just pulling in tight against the hip if need be, but preferably with the foot stepping out more. Now talking about weight distribution. You can, as I said, there are different ways to play head quarters. We're just showing a particular type, which is going to lead to certain scenarios being more likely to occur. But so for this one, we're going to have our weight more on this bottom leg than through the hips. Okay, so I'm not like sitting all my weight on this leg. You can sometimes do it like this, but I actually want you more to be focusing on putting your weight on this leg, not on the ground. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but a little more centered out towards this side. I want my hips low as well, so I want my center of gravity to be pretty low. The higher I am up here, the more likely I'm going to be kicked forward and lose my balance. Okay, so if you look from side on with my center of gravity here, I tend to want my hips kind of in and around the line of my hips kind of, hip or this leg is pushing in against the ankle. That's the line I want my hips at, okay, in terms of how low I am. If I tend to be up more here, then I'm much easier to be kicked forward. Now there will be times when we do elevate our center of gravity deliberately. Usually when we're doing that, we're moving backwards to not kind of get kicked over the top. Okay, so if I come up forwards, it's going to be easy to kick me forward. Generally when we're coming up, we're popping our hips backwards like so. Okay, so it's harder for them to get leverage to take us over the top. All right, so what's the role of my right leg here? So First off, I'm going to be pinning this leg to stop this leg coming back into play. Okay, so I don't want this leg coming back to push my chest. That's one of the reasons why we're starting to bring our weight on top of that. Now, if Mile tries to bring that leg back, it should be more difficult. Okay. Sometimes I don't even necessarily want him to be able to push off the ground. See how his toes are on the ground? You can use that to, like, you can do like little hip escapes and movements by doing that. Okay. So if you can, you want to hook see my foot sitting underneath, like the outstep of my foot. So this part of my foot can kind of hook over the top of his shin. So I've got my knee pinning his knee, and because it's wide enough, I can also put the foot underneath. If Mile tries to put his toes on the mat, I can make it more difficult. You're not going to guarantee, like, you can probably find a way to do that, so don't be too alarmed if they can, but we can do that. And generally, the more I start to turn my hips to face this way, the harder that is for Mile, or I can still use this hook to stay attached. Okay. Now, we have to be careful here. I often see people putting this knee down on the ground, okay, which might feel like a good thing. It makes it, okay, definitely Mile is not getting this leg back now, but I'm too far forward now, okay? So if I come in to headquarters and I put my knee to the ground, my weight comes over the top. It's too far forward. I'm going to get kicked up and off balance, okay? So we can put the knee down, but it's usually a little bit later. It's not until we've started to close the gap, and now we'll start to put our knee down to the ground. So for now, I actually want it kind of floating. You have to be careful not to put it too far down as well because of your mobility. My ability to change into other types of passes is now reduced because my weight's too far forward. I've got no weight on my toes, and it's hard to move laterally. By sitting back, being here, I have the ability to put weight here, but I can also move and change into other types of attacks. Okay, so with this leg, we want to be posting on our toes out wide, pinning this leg, and have our knee floating over the top of the adductors here, so right on the middle of this leg, and ready to move, okay? Ready to push off and redirect me this way to start to attack, or if I start to close the distance, I can then start dropping it down towards the ground, making a stronger position to block that knee. Now, one of the main things my right leg wants to do eventually is cut across. So I want to have if I'm able to generate some force and I get the right upper body position, we'll talk about that later, but I can start to bring this knee up and across to the center and through to the other side into a good cross knee through position. Now my left leg, again, we want the foot wide, knee tight. I'm controlling the hip. You can sit on the hip with the middle of your hips, but it's actually usually better to have the inside of your thigh pressuring this leg. So really my left leg is aiming to control Mile's leg. That's one of the primary goals is this leg is to control Mile's right leg. Okay. And one thing I'm trying to do with it is actually take his foot to the inside of his hip. So if you want to turn Mile. So I want his foot not to be here, but kind of like inside. I'm rotating his hip a little bit, so he's more jammed like that. Okay. So I'm using my leg kind of like get him here. It's a less powerful pushing position. If Mile wants to extend off that, it's not as good as if the foot was out here. Here he can like push as a hook and elevate a lot better. By just pinching, by coming here and pinching a little bit across with my adductor, I take his foot out of the correct plane. Now you have to be careful with this leg. One of the main things, obviously we can use this leg to drive and come across and give us mobility, but I have to be very careful not to allow Mile to grip this leg. Okay, so as much as I want my knee to block his hip here to stop him moving out left and right, it's part of my pinch and squeeze. But if I step too far forward and he underhooks this leg, okay, this is really bad. So you can't be that close, okay? So you kind of want to be just with my knee just on the lower part of the hip, enough to pinch, but further away to reach. So you can see my foot's kind of back as well, and I can be blocking, preventing him reaching there. There is one other option. Sometimes we'll put it behind. So especially when we want to go to the smash pass, we'll often put this knee behind the hip. Okay, this makes it very hard to reach, but it also gives us good position to start to drive across, to collect the calf and start to turn his whole hips that way. So you can see, if I bring this knee here and then cut across on the calf, it starts to turn Mile's hips away to start to set up a guard pass. All right, what about my right hand? What's this looking for? Now, ideally, I get access to a nice high underhook here, okay? An underhook and a post, right? This will set me up for the cross knee through pass, a really nice way to go for the knee through pass. But that's not always easy to get. Melee's going to be blocking and fighting. So there's a few things I can be doing with this arm. I can be trying to prevent Melee pushing my knee. Often people try to push your knee off their leg, especially because we're not too far over the top. So I can be like pummeling against that anytime Melee pushes. I tend to want to put my hand in and watch this. I put my hand on the inside. Now retract your knee, Melee. You see my hand blocks the knee retracting? And then his hand's still on my knee. What I can do is I retract my knee, I come back on the inside and flare it out again. Okay? And he cannot follow that. So we just turn a little. Melee starts to push my knee and put my hand on the ground on the inside. I take my knee back. He can't follow my knee, so I can bring it back inside and square that up. So I'm just maintaining control here. Sometimes I'll be holding the knee. If I feel like earlier on, if I feel like Melee might be retracting this, I can just be holding the end of the lever here, right at the knee, locking my elbow tight and making it more difficult for that. Okay? And then obviously if he pushes, I can come here, bringing my knee back in, fighting for that particular grip. Now another one, often you can't get this high underhook post. Maybe Melee's got his elbow tight. It's hard to get that. But we can still look to take control of this side of the hip. So I can just grip. What I want to do with this hand is actually grip just around the ribs here, locking my elbow. The key is my elbow. This arm is actually going to stop this leg. Okay, it looks weird, but when I put my arm here, now when I go for a knee cut, if Melee tries to bring that leg in, you see my arm has actually blocked that by gripping low on the ribs and having my elbow ready to block that knee. Okay, so overall with this hand, it's kind of just like taking care of what's going on this side of the body. I'm wanting to get an underhook, either here or here. A high underhook's generally better. Low underhook here is still quite good though. And it's also keeping Melee's knee and foot from coming back in front. Okay, so he's starting to push on my knee or retract his leg. I might be holding the leg, I'm posting, bringing my knee inside. If he does start to ever get that leg back, I'll often let go, grab the shin, pin it again, and start to come out so I can get into position again. With my left hand, I want to have this grip where I've got my elbow locked tight around the thigh. So my forearm's catching the side of the thigh, and my hand catches the top of the knee. Okay, like this, right? So this is the position I want with my left hand. There's some good reasons for this. I can actually move the thigh in a few different directions that are beneficial for me. I can potentially start to pull open. Okay, so you can see with my hand looped around the front, I can actually start to pull the knee out if I wanted to cut across. I'm pulling the knee away from the chest. If Melee's trying to pull his knee tight, I can be pulling back, which will start to set up the smash pass or a near side knee through. So when I pull the knee away from the chest, I can start to slip my shoulder past that knee. And I can use my forearm to force his leg to the side as well. So often when we do the smash pass, when we want to turn the leg, I'll be pulling back and my forearm will start to turn the leg like this. Okay. So with our grip, we're going here. The obviously added bonus of this. So if Melee pulls his knee to his chest, he can potentially free this foot. If I hold this knee and I'm keeping it from pulling to the chest, try and free that foot, it's stuck. All right, our chest and torso positioning, okay, and shoulder positioning is really important for this position too, okay? So I get to headquarters. Ideally, I actually want this leg out of the way, okay? You can see this knee's in front of me. I'd really like to clear that knee. If I could get my chest to the outside of this leg, I can use that to fold the leg, okay? That's our smash pass, right? So we're aiming to get our chest to the outside of the leg so we can use our chest to really put weight and fold the leg to the side. Or the other thing we often look to do is to try to slip our shoulder past the leg on this side, okay? So if I'm able to slip my shoulder past and clear the leg that way, I can now start to put my chest across the body and start to stabilize from here, okay? Now generally, we're not trying to be too far forward. I'm really not trying to lean over Melee here. You want to be on your own weight with your chest. So I'm kind of back like this. I'm trying to find like kind of bob and weave and find ways to clear this and get around the leg. the knee position of our opponent is going to be an important determinant of what type of pass we go for. If Miele's knee is pushing away, I'm generally going to look to do a smash pass. It's actually becomes a better lever to turn his hips. So here it's like somewhat of a lever. As his knee pushes away, I actually get a better leverage to turn his hips and better positioning for the smash pass. So this is really common, but if the knee is pushing away, we're tending to want to push across and fold the leg. If the knee is pointed across my body, we're going to be going to the smash pass. If the knee is going to the outside, then we're tending to want to come in and go towards a chest-to-chest position. We can obviously play these against each other. We're trying to work with our opponent's knee position, make them worried about going to the smash pass, so he opens out, and then I can start going the other way. And then, of course, there's the cross knee through attacks as well. They're not going to work if the knee is a crossbody, or if the knee is too far. Actually, it will still work if the knee comes extended, but it's a little harder. But the cross knee through will tend to work if the knee is in the center, and more so when I can start to punch my underhook. So there is these things which attack we go for really will depend on the knee position, as well as how the person's framing and what sort of upper body controls I can get. So Miele can frame obviously from here. It is difficult to clear the frames, right? It's very hard from here for me to actually both clear a frame and actually be able to close the distance before he puts that frame back. So the frames are more just going to determine what attack we're doing. We don't really try to smash through them. You're not going to drive through these frames and actually close the distance in that regard. Okay, so there's different ways. We'll look at a few different ways Miele might be using his hands. He might push both shoulders like this. This is quite common. He might go 2 hands on the far shoulder, or he might start pushing on the knee too. Okay, so these are very common ways people try to deal with the headquarters position. Generally, if Miele's pushing 2 shoulders, what you can do is you can use your elbow on the ground to help stop your hips turning. So if someone's pushing on both shoulders like this, often that does give you a chance to turn the hips, or the fact that he's framing this shoulder can let me pick up this elbow, which means when I come across for a kneecap, I've got that elbow, which actually really helps me to finish the kneecaps. If he's framing the far shoulder, often that gives my left shoulder freedom to start to work to get past this leg. I can still obviously be attacking the smash pass from here too, as he's starting to turn that way. And we talked about if Miele was starting to push at this leg at all, then I can be putting my hand to the mat and playing for my knee position. But generally, now that he's not blocking my shoulder, it's becoming more likely that my hand can start to come in and control somewhere at the hip or post down for an underhook, which is a prerequisite for starting to come across for a cross knee through pass. We're getting into the passes from headquarters. So we understand our positioning and the general concepts. Now time to look at the passes. First one to go through is the cross knee through with the post, okay, a high underhook post. So I'm here with Miele and I'm trying to fight for position and trying to threaten a bunch of things, and I see an opportunity to punch a high underhook here. Okay. Now it has to be, when you do this, you have to actually post on this. This is not an underhook where you grip. Okay. I actually don't want to close the distance. If I was to try to close the distance here, if Miele lifts his leg, I start getting swept over. Okay. So if I bring my weight too far forward, I'm allowing him to have a hook sweep. My post is exactly to stop that. If he tries to take me over the top now, it doesn't really take me at all. Okay. So I'm going to post on the mat, and what I want to do, see how Miele's knee's tight here. It's come close to his chest. First of all, don't go for this if their knee is folded too far. Like, I'm not going to knee cut through this. I have to smash pass. So we have to still look at their knee position, but if his knee's close to his chest, it's going to be very hard to come straight across. Just fight that. He's going to keep that difficult, and it's going to be hard to actually cut the angle. What I want to do with this particular type of knee cut is drive my knee up and then cut down to pull his knee away from the chest. So I'm gonna put my knee to the center here, and then slide down and back to open it up. So look at that from the other side. Here, get a nice high underhook. I'll talk about my post later. I bring my knee up nice and high, and then I can start to open that by cutting back. Okay. What can happen if I just try to go straight across as well? Even if I do manage to get through this, there's a high, look at the space I have here. Put a knee shield in. Melee can get a knee shield, okay? And then this is a problem, I have to kind of reset. If instead, what I'm looking to do is I'm going to have my knees in the center. When my knee's in the center, put a knee shield, there's no knee shield, okay? I replace where my knee is with my hip. So I slide the knee down and my hip drops to the center, okay? Put your knee shield. See my hip blocks that and I can slide back. This is very different to coming straight across with my knee. Put your knee in, where I can't get my hips. If I come straight across, it's very hard to get my hip in position, okay? So by posting, coming to the center and dropping my hip in, it becomes very difficult for melee to post. So what you're gonna need to do here is actually post high with your left hand. So my right hand's on the ground. My left hand has to post high as I do this, as my knee comes forward. And I wanna drop my weight back. So this hand's actively now pushing my hips back as I drop down. Okay? It allows my hip to drop in and become good positioning, opening that space to start to pass. Once I'm in here, I'm gonna be picking up the elbow, putting my head on top of the shoulder, okay? Why do I hold the elbow? If I don't hold the elbow, I start to get up on that arm. Yeah, you can start getting up and it's hard to actually consolidate upper body control. If I pick up this elbow, try and get up now, you can't, and I pin his shoulder with my head, okay? Try and get up now, should feel very stuck. The last phase is to slide my knee out and keep my hips attached to the hips. So you see, as I slide, I keep this here. I see a lot of people slide too far with their kneecap. A lot of time, people slide and they get to about here, and then melee can recover his bottom leg. Okay, I want to keep my hip attached to the hip, or the leg here in front of the thigh. So if he tries to bring that in, he can't. And I walk my feet back to try to turn his hips away and make him face away. Then I can start to square up and get side control. So we're in the headquarters position. I see the opportunity, maybe melee's reached for my leg, I post on the mat. I have to bring my weight forward and high as my knee goes to the center of the chest, and then I cut my weight low, across and down, sliding my hip down next to the hip here. Picking up the elbow, head next to melee's head, I slide through, walk my feet, turn his hips away, lift the elbow, square up into side control. doing the knee through with a lower underhook is quite common. So it's often very hard to actually get space to pummel and punch your hand deep like that. So it's a bit different, the mechanics behind this lower knee cut. So what I look to do, and this could be, melee could be framing, that's fine. I'm gonna wanna just get a grip down underneath this hip here on the side of the ribs at the back, okay? But the aim is to make it so my forearm is gonna block this leg. So I'm gonna move across. I'm actually gonna back out of the headquarters. I'm gonna get out of headquarters and start to move across, okay? And what I wanna make sure is that this knee can't follow. So as I move across, you see my forearm will block that and my elbow will block that, okay? So then I can start to drive my knee down, start to pummel and look for the pass. So I see a lot of people doing this with the collar. It's not necessarily wrong. If you're going to use the collar, the main thing though is you need to stop this knee shield and this foot coming in. Okay, so if I allow enough space that Melee can get his knee shield in, see how my arm didn't block that, the knee coming in front is really going to kill my kneecap. All right, so that's why I like to grip down here. You can grab the material if it's gi, no gi, you're just cupping. Okay, but on the side of the ribs, not on top. He will fold through a grip on the top. I see this happen a lot. Put your knee shield, it will just fold through. I have no purchase. By gripping outside here and dropping my forearm into the leg, that will block the knee shield. Try and get a knee shield. Okay, that's what I'm after. Okay, so we're in the headquarters. We're in nice and tight. I've got good position. I hold the inside of the knee with my hand, and I grip with my elbow coming tight here. Okay. Once I'm there, I'm going to back out. So I want you to use your feet, move your hips backwards, and drop your elbow down. Okay. From here, once you back out, you can start stepping your right leg across and left leg across. I'm starting to cut down with my knee across here. So we'll have a look at that from the other side now. From here, you'll see my leg starts to come back. I start walking like so, and my hand is starting to change to pin that hand down. Okay, so I've reached on the inside of the knee, and I'm going to pin that leg down to the mat. Right. As I do that, my knee is coming over the top, and I put weight on the knee. My knee comes over the top, I put weight on the knee, keep this up. Okay, and I'm still keeping this grip here, preventing this knee shield from coming in. All right. My next aim is to close the gap. I'm just going to go through what's the most common thing here, which is Melee's going to frame. Okay, he's going to be blocking. He's not just going to, rarely do you just go here and they kind of lying there, so he's going to block. So we're going to pick up the elbow or cup the elbow, keep this hip control, start to slide our knee down until our hip meets the hip and my elbow drops over the far hip. Okay, I'll show that other side in a moment. I walk my feet back, turning Melee's hips, lifting his elbow, and taking side control. So my arm's going to be tight. I move backwards, blocking. So as I move back, I really drop that. I go from my knee blocking the leg to my forearm blocking the leg. I start to walk across, turning Melee, dropping my knee down here, gripping the elbow, starting to slide my hips. As I slide my hips, if I can, my chest comes forward, and I want to take his hip from the far side. Now he can't hip escape. Okay, he tries to hip escape out, block that. I drop my hip, walk back to turn his hips, lifting the elbow, and establish side control. So we get into the headquarters position, hand goes to the side and back of ribs. As I back out, I'm going to retract my knee, drop my elbow down, bring my hips back, walk to the side, pin the leg, put my knee over the top, grip the bottom of the elbow here, start to slide my knee down and hip towards the hip as I drop my elbow over the top of the hip. From here, I walk my legs back to turn Melee away, lifting the elbow, and I take side control. So we're going to go for the smash pass now. And to do the smash pass, what I really want is my chest to be able to get to the outside of the leg. Okay. If I can't get that, it's not going to work. So I can't do it if I'm trying to smash here, like even if I get down to the ground, if I don't actually get my chest on the outside of the leg, this won't work. Okay, so how do we force that to happen? First, if Mile, for example, sometimes he'll put his knee to the inside, this is a great way to stop me being able to knee through pass. There's no way my knee is going to come across into a knee through pass here when he does that, but he's giving me the smash pass if he does that. So I just have to put my chest down and start to follow the movement that follows, okay? But if his knee's a bit more centered, we still can try to force the smash pass. The way we do that, reach over the top of the thigh, so right up high on the knee, move your hips back, okay? So I'm gonna mostly be moving the knee away from the chest using my legs and my body movement, okay? So I sit back and pull, okay? I've completely disengaged from holding this. Just the fact that my elbow's on the inside means it's hard for Mile to immediately take that leg outside, okay? So you should have a little bit of room to do this, okay? Once I have that, my elbow's gonna start to fold with the aim of just exposing my chest to the side of the leg, okay? So here, move back, turn, okay? And then my chest connects and I can start to sprawl in to the smash pass, okay? Let's have a look at the leg work here. This is something that requires a bit of getting used to, but I want to turn my knee out and fold over the shin, okay? I don't want to go, I think when people first do it, they kind of like do it forwards, especially if Mile's framing. You're not going to get anywhere on a smash pass. He'll take all your weight and you can't smash the leg. So keep framing. I want to be moving away. See, I'm almost backing off the frames, turning outwards, getting my chest in contact, and driving my chest down to the mat. Down onto the leg, and folding my leg. So if you look at my right leg here, it's going to go back, out, onto the mat with my knee, and then my foot will come out. So I end up with both legs sitting between my legs. Okay, look at that again. We're here, Mile's framing, push, turn, knee down to the mat, chest follows, okay? Now, even my left leg does the same. So if you watch my left leg, as I turn around, here, I step back, my knee turns in, and it folds towards the inside. So this is a great thing to do as timing if someone tries to push you away. Often you step into headquarters and people push you with their knee almost immediately. You should smash. Okay, so as an immediate follow-up. As soon as he extends his knee away from the chest, it's easy to turn it in. Okay, it's hard to do that. You keep it tight. Very hard to push it across here, but if I can pull away, I can smash it in. So as I said, when you enter, they'll often push you back. Okay. That's when we go for the smash pass. Okay, so once I get here, I have to make sure my left hand gets past the line of the hip. So I'm going to reach around to the back here, like so, and my shoulder has to land in front. Okay, shoulder can't be in the middle. It must be in front, like this, with my weight here. Okay. Now, if Mile tries to hip escape away, my left arm is blocking that. Okay. I'm pinning Mile's top leg past his bottom leg. So the idea is, if I pin this, it's very hard for Mile to recover this leg. Okay, try and recover your bottom leg back through. At the very least, it's a big movement to do it, and I can pass around. Okay. So again, we're just doing a linear pass here. There is a whole system on the smash pass. But once we're here, so let's say you've been framing. Mile's been framing. I'm going to start to circle my hand inside the arm, grip onto the shoulder. Shoulder, elbow. Once I have that elbow, I'm going to start putting my head down onto that shoulder. Okay, so even if he's framing here, I'm going to start putting the head on the shoulder. So I can take my chest off the leg, but I keep my leg blocking him from recovering that leg. Okay, my head comes down like so. Once I'm here, I step behind the top leg, and I walk around to side control behind him here. Okay. There's a lot of steps to this movement. Think of it in phases. First, smash and sprawl. Second, get control of the upper body. Third, pass behind. Okay, so We're in our headquarters position. I pull the knee from the chest, fold it, put my chest behind, my knees go to the side, and I sprawl out. Okay, Miele's got frames. I'm going to start to grip this shoulder, the elbow, tripod up, head to the shoulder, and my top leg stops him recovering his top leg. So my left leg, try and recover that leg, Miele. It's blocked. I'm going to pummel my right foot behind that leg, and then I'm going to walk behind Miele to pass into side control. So the last technique is the near side knee through, which is where I basically want to clear this leg, cover this distance, and start to pass towards side control this way. Now, this is good when Miele has got his knee on the outside, or if he's got his knee in the center and he's framing my far shoulder, and I can slip past that knee. Okay, so anytime I can get basically the first thing I want to do is get my armpit in front of this knee to stop him pulling the knee to the chest. If he pulls the knee to the chest, it's going to be very hard for me to get into this position. Okay, so what I'm looking to do is find room to get my armpit and shoulder behind it, like so. Okay, and then I actually want to drop backwards, because if I go forwards and Miele frames, he can start to push me up. He frees his knee again. Okay, so look from this side. As soon as I get that here, I actually want to drop away. It doesn't matter if he frames here, if I drop down and low. Okay, so I'm kind of attaching to the hip here, as opposed to trying to get an upper body control here. This is a big mistake people make. They clear the knee and they try to go forward into the frames. Miele's legs are now free again, and he recovers in some form or another. Okay, so we're here in our headquarters. Miele's leg comes to the side for whatever reason. So maybe frame his shoulder. Yeah, slip my shoulder past, catch it with my armpit, and I drop back and turn. Okay, so actually you should have your head down near the hips. This is the right positioning, not up high. Okay, so turning and down near the hips here. All right, and you're on this butterfly hook. Okay, so Miele's hooked the leg, so I'm still on that hook, and that's okay. Now it's really important here, again, that I don't drive forward, even like out this way, because Miele starts lifting with his hook, I can start getting swept over. Okay? He's still got this butterfly hook. I have to be careful of that. I want to keep his weight out this way a little bit. That's why my head's going. That's another reason why my head's going this way, and keeping him flat. Try and lift your butterfly hook now. Okay, it's jammed. I want to be keeping his heel close to his butt with my leg as I pull the hook away. So it's got very poor leverage to lift. Okay. So once I'm here, Miele is going to be framing or pushing my leg. We're going to have the same battle that we had before. He pushes this leg. He's going to start trying to free the leg. That's not good if he gets back to here. Okay. So we have the same battle that we did before, where if he pushes my leg, I put my hand on the inside, block the knee retracting, and I put my knee on the inside. He pushes my leg, and I keep going through this process. My eventual aim is to grab this elbow and lift it up. Push on my leg now. See how he can't? If I hold this elbow up. That's what I want to get. Okay? And now I'm ready to start the pass. Okay, so again, if Miele's pushing, I'm going to be blocking, moving, fighting, and then looking to pull this elbow up. It doesn't have to be too high, just enough that you can't push my leg. And then once you've lifted, you kind of lock your elbow by your side to make that difficult. So I want to pass from here. Okay, now that I've got the elbow, I want to pass the guard. How do I get off this butterfly hook? I keep my hips close. So see how this part of my hip pushes close to Miele's leg. And I start to scroll my knee down and away. Okay, try and keep that hook. Hip goes close, and I scroll my foot away, like so. Okay. If I lift my hips up and do this, he will follow. He'll sweep me. Okay. If I try to do not switch your base to free this leg, I need to sprawl, so my hips actually end up facing more to my right. Okay, moving this way. Okay, that's how I clear the hook. All right. And I also can't let Miele's hips turn. Okay, if his hips turn this way, yep, and I do the sprawl, he's going to follow and sweep me over. So that's why my hips pressure in, keeping him flat here. My head down to the side. The lower I am, the easier this is. Try and follow my hip. The lower I am, the harder it is for him to follow. The higher up I am, the more he can follow my leg. Okay. So another reason why we want to be low on the hip. All right. So once I'm there, I don't want to just take this leg out and then have Miele trap me in half guard. Okay. So ideally, my foot here, my right foot, is blocking him from closing his feet. Okay. So if he tries to close this foot, it can only move a little bit. Okay. But even then, he can still trap my leg. So if you trap your feet, you can trap my leg. So what I'm going to do, as soon as I scroll off the hook, I'm going to pummel my foot up and put it behind my trapped leg. Okay, try and lock my feet now. You can't actually trap me in the guard. Okay, so this is just a way of not getting caught in the half guard and having to pass through there. That's still okay. It's an okay outcome if I have to pass through the half guard, but it's better if I pummel my foot behind my knee, hold it tight, and then I put my knee through to try and trap me here. So notice the whole time Miele can't trap my legs, and I end in side control. So we're in the headquarters. I can slip my shoulder past the knee, attach my head down near the hip, control the hip, Miele pushing up my leg, and then be blocking and holding that knee, making sure he can't free that. And then at some point, I want to get my knee towards the ground now, and I want to start to pick up the elbow. Okay. Actually, I didn't say that, but knee on the ground means it's harder to put. Later on, as we get more control, as I start putting my knee down, he can't pull his knee back towards him as easily. Okay, but don't do that too early, okay? Because you will get swept. But as we start to settle into position, this is okay. Pick up the elbow, sprawl, extend my leg to the side, pummel my foot wide as my foot hooks behind my own knee. Okay, here I can't trap my legs. I then take my knee out over the top and pass into side control.
Alright, so let's have a look at mixing our offense together. So you can see here, as I get into headquarters, I step over the leg. I'm pushing down on the outside leg. So you pretty much always want to be trying to turn your opponent away. So I can use my hand or I can use my knee, as we talked about quite a lot. So you can actually pin with your knee, or even your hand can do that job. And usually the first thing I try to do is either smash the leg or knee cut. And often the smash, just because of the direction you turn as you enter, often the smash is the first thing to look for. I actually don't have any clips of me finishing a smash pass, but there's plenty of clips of me initiating a smash pass and then coming back for the knee cut. So you'll see that here. I try to fold. I'm trying to get my chest to the outside of the thigh. Okay, and what's stopping that is the frame here. But it's going to open me up to a knee cut, which is I'm going to try to do from here. So I'm going to go back. Okay, so I pummel and start coming across with my knee cut. Now, one interesting thing is, notice how now my opponent is starting to frame my shoulder, but they couldn't do that to frame against the knee cut. Okay, he has to have his elbow on the ground to stop himself turning to the side. We'll see some other visuals of that, but that's why I'm mixing it together. Every time I go to smash, you'll see that elbow has to go to the ground to help, to kind of like gives him some base to stop his whole legs getting folded. But now that opens up this side ready for the knee cut. So really you have to link these things together. Okay, again, that elbow's on the ground. He's trying to hold his leg up so it doesn't get tilted too far. That was a high pummel that I had to deal with. So he brought his leg in, and I had to grab the ankle and move that out of the way so it's not in contact with my shoulder anymore. Walking to the side, punching that underhook. And I end up actually in this one, something we didn't cover, which is just an X pass. Sometimes you have to just kick your leg out and around the guard. Okay, so I notice there's a bit of space to actually kick my right leg back. Okay, so it's like a Toriando. It's like I'm going around the legs here, and that gets me turning the hips away and ready to pass. Again, this time I'm going for the knee cut. As the knee cut's not working, I square back up, and then I'm going to come back in. Now that it's kind of like a headquarters. It's not fully, but the way I would say it is sort of like it is I square him up enough that my right arm can block that leg. Okay, and because Sam's looking for a lasso, but I've blocked that leg, he doesn't have a frame with that arm. So when I come in to knee cut, now he's going to use a forearm frame, but it wasn't a hand frame, so I managed to close the gap quite a lot. So you can see the knee cut is probably the main way I actually do finish the pass from the headquarters, but you have to mix it with smash pass and some of the other passes we covered. All right. So there we are, straight into it. Once I've turned Justin to the side, as soon as I pummel my foot in, I see the gap to pummel the underhook. So basically, the knee cut's really good anytime that your opponent isn't ready to frame you with their left arm. It's much harder if they're able to frame with this arm. Okay, but because that left arm's on the ground, either reaching for my leg or it might be helping to support their base, it's a great time to cut across and go for the knee cut. And a lot of the time I am okay. I recommend studying our knee shield passing course because I'm quite comfortable trying to pass through the knee shield if they manage to defend as well. So in this scenario, I go to smash pass and my opponent defends by, so I'm actually got good positioning for the smash pass, and they defend by straightening their leg, and I just sprawl and take the control of that bottom hip. Okay, so notice by sprawling here, this knee shield can't come in. So he's turned back on his side, but there's no chance of a knee shield now. I just have to make sure I don't end up in close guard by stepping over the top of this leg. So I'm now going to step over that leg. There we are. So similar setup to what we were using, just slightly different finish. There we go. So this diving knee cut in particular is the most common one, where I basically dive forward, post my left hand usually on the mat, as I try to come forward for an attack. And this one, as my opponent turns in, I've managed to hook an underhook now, and that gets me to the front headlock position. Again, this would be considered an upgrade in positioning now. Alright, here I'm trying to smash, cut across here. So again, mixing those two things together, that's a attempt at smashing the legs. Okay, so just notice I go for a knee cut, it gets blocked. Now I've got my right knee heavy, like we're doing, like I was talking about, but I'm going to posture my hips up and start to walk to my right just for a second. I'm driving, look at my left foot out wide, ready to drive laterally. Okay, and then as Bin tries to elevate me to stop that, there's now going to be some space to dive my underhook. He's holding my leg, and that's going to be cleared. It basically breaks his grip when you come across for this knee cut. And this one's a bit more of the standard knee cut. I'm not posting forward, I'm just going a bit more laterally. And so there can be some sort of mixing of the two as well, but this is going to get me in to good position. All right, and that lets me force the half guard. Okay, the last one, this one we're actually is a competition footage from the Pampaks, and as I go to do the knee cut, my opponent manages to off balance me. Okay, so they kind of kicks me forward, and that frees the right leg. So technically, it's kind of like headquarters, but I've lost the foot from in the middle, but I've still got my knee through position. Okay, so I've still got my knee connected in front, and I've got a good enough grip that I can grip his lapel and my elbows to the knee that he can't actually put a good De La Riva hook in. See how the foot's on the outside. So now I can just slowly pressure, trying to bring my knee into this gap between his thigh and his shoulder. Watching out for frames, okay? You'll see how I deal with these frames in a moment. I stretch this leg back. So what am I? I'm worried about frames with the arms. Also worried about a knee shield. Okay, if this knee shield comes in, it's going to become a real issue. So you'll see me grab that leg and actually stretch it back, peeling it away so it's hard to get that knee in front of my chest. Now my chest is low over the top of the thigh. Okay. Then I'll start to come through slowly pressuring, driving forward off my left foot in a moment, trying to make sure my knee goes down towards the mat. Okay. So a lot of forward pressure, but not too far forward that you get off balance. Okay, so notice I have to kind of sometimes reach out with my arms a little bit to post, as I just did. Okay, and or my leg, just keeping my balance wide. And this, look at this frame. So the frames are bothering me. So look at that again. Sorry. So you'll see his frames start bothering. He's pushing my head up. That's a problem. So to deal with this, I drop low because this is he can actually frame me away here. But if I drop low, it's much harder for him to frame up here, and it's going to be even better when I get my head down to the side. Once my head's at the side, you'll see him actually abandon his frames altogether. Okay, so we're here. There's still some frame. It's somewhat annoying, but I'm kind of comfortable. It's at least squashed here. And then when I eventually get my head down, there we are. Okay, he's let go of that frame. Now he's trying to block my arm or something else. Okay, so my head's now too attached, and I'm really closing the gap. I end up in the half guard here. Which is obviously a great upgrade in position if you started in headquarters.
A summary for the headquarters system. Okay, so this is a system on kind of give you an idea to how to get to headquarters and what your options are from there with some multiple different ways of finishing. So for the entries, we want to be starting to get our lateral step. Make sure we put one leg between our legs and start to put our knee over the top and pinch. Okay, so we've got from an open guard, we've got from, if they get some sort of De La Riva, make sure you step back so you can peel the legs and step over the top of the leg. Yeah. We can go for a knee cut, scoop the leg up, walk back into the headquarters position. And from a seated position, we can start to get a shoulder frame, reach the back of the knee, step towards the calf, tilt him backwards into headquarters. Once we're in headquarters, we're going to base our decisions on what to do predominantly on whether there's frames and whether so how Miele's framing and where his leg is. Okay, so we've got three main options. They've got the knee cut, so going across for a knee cut. We've got working in towards the half guard, and we've got the smash pass. If we look at the position of the knee as our indicator, if the knee is anywhere towards the middle or across the body, the smash pass is almost always a good option. Okay, if you're trying to fold it across. Okay, if the knee is across the body, the knee cut is not going to be an option, and the half guard is not going to be an option. So our only option will be to smash. If the knee's in the center, we've got a few more ways to approach this. Generally, if Miele's pushing away with the leg, I'm going to want to start to fold it to the side. Okay, If he kicks me forward, we'll go over this in a moment, but if he kicks me forward, I can post, and that actually often helps me with my knee cut with my post. Okay. If his knee's floating towards the outside, or if he starts framing this far shoulder, as we start to talk about frames, then I want to slip my shoulder past and take his knee away from the chest, trying to work through the half guard to the near side knee through pass. In terms of frames, if Mile's framing both shoulders, often it is good from here to start to back out and come across for the knee cut. So we're going to, if both shoulders are framed, my chance of actually really closing the gap doing these sort of ones or coming in towards the half guard is lower. Okay, so if both shoulders are framed, my options are more to back out and smash or back out and knee cut. These are both more loose passes where our legs are doing most of the work, whereas if there's, if he's framing one shoulder or if he's pushing a leg, this is often a time when we can start to pummel our feet, get underhooks, and start coming across for more high-based upper body close passes. So try to learn the reactions for when each of these passes work. Sometimes if you don't see the opportunity go for one, it will open up the other. If I go to smash the leg, then Mile reacts by opening his leg, and that often gives me a chance to knee cut or to come in. So try to create openings by forcing one of these passes. We're now just going through some troubleshooting, so some issues or common issues people have when they start trying to do the headquarters. One of the first ones is getting bumped forward. So often that's usually because people's hips are too high. They come in like this, and melee kicks me up the butt, and I end up coming forward like that. Okay. So obviously the answer is make sure you're a bit further back. I'm more on my own weight than I am on melee, but it's not the end of the world. Sometimes I want him to bump me forward just so I can pummel an underhook. In that action, I can go high underhook, post, and knee cut. So if melee bumps me forward, sometimes I post, come to here, my knee cut starts to work. So often that's actually something you want. You almost want to, for that type of knee cut, you actually have to kind of dive forward to actually get that knee cut anyway. So whether they bump you forward or whether you force that motion, that's good for that particular counter. Very common, so now that we're on our own weight and we're not leaning too far forward, it's very common for melee to push me backwards, and I sometimes see people kind of lose their balance backwards. Okay. You gotta be on your feet and you gotta be ready to retract your hips. If he pushes me backwards, my hips move back. And it's actually a great time to smash or to knee cut. Okay, so again, he's put his knee away from his chest. It's a big lever now. I can fold it in or I can pull it across. So we're gonna be ready for that. Melee pushes back, smash. Okay, melee pushes back, knee cut. Sometimes our opponent will pummel their foot back on our shoulder, and then he can push me away and he frees his leg. I'm out of my headquarters. Okay, so what's the problem here? One, I didn't block this leg well enough. Often, if he's really good at like circling his foot over, it's not just the thigh. I need to hold the shin here. Try and circle now. It's much harder. Okay, so when we're coming in and entering, you might have to hold the shin if someone's trying to pummel already. Okay, until your leg pins, and then once my leg pins the leg, then it should be very hard for him to do that. I can be holding the knee now as well, just so if he pulls his knee to his chest, he might get it back. Okay, so holding onto the knee with my right hand can help assist that. Okay, but again, anytime melee does start to pummel that leg in, I'm going to want to take my hand off, circle back, control the leg again, and pin the leg again with my knee. A lot of the time you'll have someone grabbing your foot. This is something we didn't really cover. So maybe from the entry, like I stepped in from an open guard, De La Hiva, and I got to here, but melee's still holding my foot. This will limit what I can do. Keep hold of it tight. I can't back out and do a cross knee through the normal way very well. It can be hard for me to smash the legs sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to turn your body. It is sometimes possible to still fold over that, but if I can't get the angle, if he's got a good enough grip, I won't actually be able to turn my knee outwards, so my smash pass might be gone. You still can definitely start to work in towards the half guard if that's available, but often my favorite one to do here is still that knee cut. Okay, so with the high post, look at where his grip is. If I put my foot wide, there'll be room to post on the mat. Okay, and this will actually break his grip. So hold that grip tight. We'll have a look from this angle. By bringing my knee into the center and then turning back towards the far hip, keep hold of that, melee's grip will start to slip. Okay, it kind of turns against his grip. From here, trying to hold that ankle as it turns away is difficult. He will be able to stop me going straight across. So I cannot step across this way to knee cut. Hold that tight. Like I'm gonna get my knee will get caught here, but if I go forward and turn, it really unwinds that grip. Forward, turn, and slide backwards. With my hips dropping back, will kill that grip. We covered this already, but I just thought I'd put it in the troubleshooting section. If melee's pushing my knee, I want to put my hand. First of all, you're going to be holding onto the knee so he can't retract that leg. But when I know he's going to be pushing the leg and he's going to be successful, I want to put my hand inside, come from the inside again with my knee, so his hand can't follow as my knee comes to the inside. Turn. So you see, melee pushes, my hand goes inside, blocks his knee from coming to his chest. My knee replaces, but he strips his grip. He cannot follow my knee. So my knee goes to the other side and then opens out and we're back again. And obviously, either we want to then have our hand on the ground blocking access to the knee, so if you can't actually push it here, or depending what pass we're doing, maybe we start to pick up that elbow so that he can't actually push on my knee at all.